I am very pleased to introduce the presenter who's here with us, and he's going to explain a little bit about the Karen Coleman piece of this, okay? But with us we have Thom Kleiner, and Thom is the regional representative for Peter Rivera, our Commissioner of Labor in New York State, Commissioner of Labor for the Department of Labor. And as the regional representative, he is responsible for 7 counties, is it? And he is connected to the network of regional representatives and also to the Commissioner for Direct Service and Advice, particularly in connection with various workforce programs. He's got a great wealth of personal experience in the field, and on top of all that, had been the supervisor. It's tough to get in an elective office. It's a challenge. He'd been the supervisor, former supervisor for Orangetown over in Rockland County. So we are delighted to welcome Thom Kleiner here this afternoon to speak with us on behalf of the Department of Labor. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Terry. Nice to see everybody. I am from Rockland County. Now I know where Ellenville is. Got to come back when it's a little easier to get here. We had actually the unusual circumstance of having more snow than, well, actually there's no snow here, but we got a lot in Rockland. I know those from Westchester know that, I think that Terry's from Westchester. There was a lot in Westchester too. So I am not Karen Coleman. Karen is the head of the entire workforce development system for the state of New York, and that in and of itself may have prevented her on any day from doing what she otherwise intended to do. But in this case, her absence is almost entirely due to the recent storms and the fact that the governor just announced that the Department of Labor was awarded a grant for $27 million to distribute to towns and villages and counties in the same way that we had aid last year for Hurricane Irene. So she is in control of that along with a whole bunch of other people. But this week particularly, as it's being kicked off, that's what she's working on. So yesterday, actually, when I got the email from her saying, would you come to this presentation, it took a couple of emails back and forth for me to realize that I was actually giving the presentation. But the good news is Karen's very good, and her shop in Albany is very good, and the presentation that she and her shop prepared is the one that you're going to get from me. So I think I can get through that okay. I'm not sure I can answer every question, but if there are any, but certainly I can get back to you if there are today. T2, next. See, I didn't forget, but you did. So the good news is that we have an employment of New York State right now of 7.3 million people, which is actually back to where it was before the recession started. The bad news, next, is that we're at 8.9%, which is higher, next, than the United States, which is at 7.8%. And now some of that is, as those of you who work in conjunction with workforce developers know fairly well, is because as the economy improves, more people are coming back into the job market. So that's good, but we obviously haven't created enough jobs to keep up with the influx of people coming in for the first time or coming back into it. But what's interesting about this slide is that there are 3.6 million job openings at the same time in the United States that we have still a relatively high actually now 7.9% unemployment rate, which on the one hand is paradoxical, but on the other hand, there are reasons for that. Next. And this you probably know better than anybody, certainly better than I do, and it's interesting to read this statistic. 49% of US employers are struggling to fill positions. Now the only good thing about this is that apparently it's better than it was in 2011 when there were 52% of employers who had difficulty filling the positions that they needed for a variety of reasons. But still, for half of the entire population of US employers to indicate that they're struggling to fill the positions that they want to fill that, on the one hand, is unfortunate. On the other hand, it's a great opportunity and probably why many of you are here today. Next. So, in the United States, and this in some ways, as I went, again, went through these slides for just very recently, this one may be the most compelling of anything you'll see today. And that is that the United States employers are struggling more than the global employers in terms of filling positions that need to be filled. 49% struggling versus 34% globally. And that presents, again, an amazing opportunity for educational institutions, for what you do, both public, private, not-for-profit, and for-profit, to really come together and try to solve this problem. Next. The Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, said that President Obama has called on every American to complete at least 1 year of post-secondary education or training. Now, I don't know about you, but as far as I'm concerned, I didn't hear enough about this from either side in the election that just passed, in the campaign that just passed. Maybe there will be an opportunity for us as a nation to have a more informed discussion about this, and for no other reason than it's going to continue to negatively affect our economy if we don't have this discussion on a nationwide basis in Congress. Obviously, it's been very difficult. This is just my only editorial for the day. It's been unbelievably difficult to get anything done in any area over the last 4 years. Hopefully, with a president that is not obviously seeking to be reelected, maybe that will change. But for this issue particularly, it really needs to change, and hopefully that will be so. Next. So by 2018, 4.7 million post-secondary certificates are needed, but only 1 million were awarded in 2010. Again, an opportunity. In 1984, only 2% of workers attained a certificate as their highest educational attainment. In 2012, that's up to 11%. And as of now, it's the second most awarded degree in education, more than associate's degree, more than a master's degree. There's clearly an intrinsic value for having it. New York is actually third from the bottom in awarding certificates, but that is not necessarily bad news. It may be more reflective of the fact that in New York, many also have a higher degree, and that's just the way the percentages come out. But that is the case in the state of New York. So in 2008, short-term or on-the-job training accounted for 35% of the educational requirement for jobs. That's the longest bar for those who can't see it. The next is moderate-term job training, long-term work experience in related occupation, and the one that we're most concerned about, 519,000 workers where a post-secondary vocational training certificate was the top educational requirement, and then it goes from there to the more advanced degrees. Next. And so we're going to look a little bit more specifically at New York. One of the things that you'll see in the next couple of slides is the use of these 10-year educational projections. And I can tell you that one of the best tools for employers, for educational institutions, and for what you do in conjunction with those entities is one of the best tools is the research and statistics information that's on the website of the Department of Labor, labor.my.gov. So if you go to the research and statistics part of that site, you can find almost any statistic imaginable on jobs that were created in the past, but more importantly, I think for what you do, the jobs that are anticipated in the future, where the job growth is anticipated to be, and what the educational requirements are, what the salaries are in some of those positions. It's an incredibly valuable resource. So one of the things we find is that by 2018, 5.9, up from 5.5%, there'll be growth with regard to vocational training. There's growth in every area, but certainly that has kept up. And New York is among the 10 top states by share of certificates awarded by for-profit institutions, which, as I understand it, most of you are that are here today. 66% of our certificates are awarded by private schools, and obviously, because of that, you're playing a significant role in meeting the demands of the state. While those numbers are promising, again, we get back to the next, where we started in this section, which is 4.7 million needed by 2018 with only 1 million awarded here. So we have to come up with 3.7 million more certificates, post-secondary certificates, in just the next 6 years. What, and again, I'm preaching now to the choir certainly, but what certificates do for unemployed and the underemployed, it's a jump start for them. For those of low income and minority and those who are immigrants, it's often who are often the first to attend college or get advanced degrees, post-secondary degrees in their family. It's an important step up. And for incumbent workers, it offers opportunities to catch up, all to give them more of a competitive advantage. And this is a theme throughout, that not only are post-secondary certificates the second most awarded certificates, but those who have them earn 20% more than one with a high school diploma. Private for-profits account for 45% of the certificates. Public two-year college is 51%. Private not-for-profits 4%. The next one. Okay. So in terms of what the Department of Labor can offer, there's 3 sets of resources that are relevant for private schools and some public schools as well. To become a member of the eligible training provider list if you haven't already done so, if you're not already a member. To use the regional economic development plans that have been developed in all 10 regions of the state that everybody in this room is part of in one region or another, and use the resources of the labor market analysts to get the information when planning curricula and offering courses, and using career planning resources. So the first is the eligible training providers. Over 545 eligible training providers have 5,500 offerings. And under WIA, the Workforce Investment Act, there's a responsibility of each state to provide a list. A majority of the schools listed, like yours, are licensed by New York State Education Department and provide quality training to our customers, leading to a certificate or a credential, as you know. Eligible trainers may also be eligible for financial support, so it's important that if for any reason you're not signed up to do so. Next. So again, those who work, certificate holders who work in their fields earn 37% more than the 56% who don't. So it's important to encourage students to try to get a sense of what they want to do and then to point them in the right direction to allow them to get there. And again, you know, obviously those with a plan are better off generally than those who don't have a plan. It gives them more confidence to secure meaningful employment and to give them a step up in the workforce. And you're an important piece of that. One of many in the community working with us at the Department of Labor, working with other educational institutions and employers to try to point people in the right direction next. So finally, in terms of what the Department of Labor is able to help you with, what's most important, I think, is really 2 things. One, that we create a closer partnership with you than maybe has been the case in the past. As Terry mentioned, Peter Rivera, who was an assemblyman from the Bronx, is now the new commissioner appointed by Governor Cuomo just a short time ago. I've been there about 2.5 years. I started under the Patterson administration, now under the Cuomo administration. And I mean, as a former local elected official, I didn't really have much contact with the Department of Labor, but I can tell you that I have been really impressed with the quality of people from Karen Coleman, who's responsible for workforce, to people who don't necessarily change based on what the administration is, party, or anything like that. The career people at the Department of Labor are really terrific. They work hard, they have great resources, and for those who don't have interaction, there's no way to know that, but for many of you, you probably know that already. But I can tell you, with the new commissioner, there's an even greater willingness to reach out to different sectors in the community. So the vocational schools, those who provide post-secondary degrees, are going to be an important piece of that. But even if we end up not having direct personal connection, you can still benefit from what the Department of Labor offers. All of the things on this screen, Job Zone and Career Zone, which we'll talk about briefly, the Jobs Bank, which had earlier this year, I think, 84,000 jobs that employers could look at to try to get people to work. Career fairs and recruitments, apprenticeship programs, labor market information, which I'll touch on briefly, and the one-stop career centers. Just a word on the one-stop career centers. In this region, in the Hudson Valley, we have at least one in every county. We have 3 in Westchester. And that is usually a combination of Department of Labor and the counties involved. They have career counselors. They have those who provide resources for resume writing and cover letters and a whole bunch of information that people can use. And when I first started, right at the beginning of 2009, in Westchester, it was a really crazy scene because it was probably the busiest they had ever been. But they're still busy, but fortunately people know enough to come. And they can be a resource for you too, because especially for employers, because they have business service representatives who work directly with those in the community to try to find out where the jobs are and make sure they're posted on our site. So they're a tremendous resource. This resource, Job Zone and Career Zone, are really self-service tools for career planning, resume building, cover letters, maintaining online portfolios. It's a free service. It's great for those looking for work. And my personal favorite is Career Zone. Just go back one, which is an interactive website that is primarily designed for those between in grades 6 through 12, but I think adults and community colleges use it too, because it's fun, number one. It's really informative. There are 800 occupations listed, 450 career videos, and when I spoke to my daughter's 7th grade class, they weren't that interested in what I was saying. They wanted to see these, cartoon videos. It's really a great tool for getting kids interested. California and Pennsylvania have just adopted this for all of their workforce development systems. Last year, we had 1.3 million visits, 18 million page visits, so 14 pages of information, per visit. And it just allows young people particularly to get a sense that, you can punch in what your interests are, and it then guides you to different occupations. It tells you what the salaries might be. That generally surprises people one way or the other. But it's a really great resource. Next. The Department of Labor has also created a work readiness credential itself, working with business organizations and multiple agencies. And the businesses consider these 8 skills, for those who can't see it, just a couple: using math to solve problems, listening actively, problem solving, things like that. And the 4 tests: workplace math, workplace reading, active listening, situational judgment, which, if passed, endorse that fact that the worker has all of these 8 skills. So it's great for entry-level workers, particularly those without particular experience. Next. So when you're doing planning for your curriculums, for your offerings, do you base it on data? Do you base it on experience, demand capacity, or something else? anybody can answer if you wish. But here's where we can be useful. The labor market analysts in this region, the Hudson Valley, it's Johnny Nelson, who works out of my office in White Plains. Each of the 10 regions has a labor market analyst. And they will help you try to pinpoint where the occupations are growing, the sectors that are expanding in each particular area of the state. It was a valuable piece of the Regional Economic Development Councils, which I'll touch on in a second. But the, I'm sorry, next. Well, good, this helps me because I forgot who was where. Kevin Jack is the statewide person. For example, then in the Capital Region, it's Jim Ross. And so this is a page on the website. If you want to find out who your contact is, just go on the DOL website, go to labor statistics, contact a labor market analyst, and these people are happy to talk with you. Every month they issue the statistics for the region in terms of employment and where the jobs are and the changes from the past month. So wages, economic trends, labor availability, all of these things are available on the site. Again, without even speaking to anybody, you can go on the site and see these trends yourself. It's extremely valuable. There is one particular site, or one particular part of the site, which talks about occupational trends for the next 10 years. And right now, the period of the 10 years is 2008 to 2018. So if you go on the site by region, Hudson Valley, Capital Region, Long Island, wherever it is, you can see which jobs are growing or which jobs are projected to grow. Now, of course, the recession probably threw that off a little bit, and hopefully we'll be at the point, I guess, at the end of this year where the period of time will be 2010 to 2020. But it's a great tool for educational institutions and employers of all kinds to try to get some sense of where we're going. So in conjunction with that, as most of you probably know, next, the governor created these regional economic development councils. And just out of curiosity, how many of you are familiar or have heard about the REDCs? Okay, I'll report back. They have to do a better job of publicizing them. But in each of the 10 regions of the state, the regional economic development councils have been established that last time in 2011 competed for almost $1 billion, about $800 million to be distributed all over the state for economic development. Yes?
Hi. There seems to be a disconnect between WIA and our schools. And I've actually spoken to some of the people and asked them to come see our school, see what we're doing, and make recommendations, and they said they're not allowed to come visit our schools.
They being,
different workforce personnel. I mean, there's a lot of different areas, but at least 3 different people I've spoken to said that they were not allowed to come to our school.
Well, I'll talk to you afterwards, but I'm not sure I understand, number one, why that is or would be. So,
yeah, just like when you said about the regional offices, there's an awful lot our sector is not aware of as far as what is happening with it, and there seems to be a disconnect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I mean, again, I'm not sure what the prohibition would be, and I wouldn't think there would be one. But with regard to this, which is actually designed to be to outreach between business leaders, labor leaders, educational institutions, a whole bunch of other categories. These councils were set up in this region, in the Hudson Valley, for example. The head of Regeneron, which is a very successful biotech company in Westchester, is one of the chairs. Dennis Murray, the president of Marist College, is the other chair. They all came together. We submitted a plan and competed against the other 9 regions, and now we submitted another one, a progress report, where another several $100 million will be split up. For your purposes, it is probably most useful in conjunction with the labor market analyst information to go on the site, regionalcouncils.my.gov, and you can go to your region, which is indicated right on the front, whatever your region may be, and just take a quick look at what these individuals have determined are the economic priorities for the next 5, 10, 25 years. they've done a great job all over the state. They put in a lot of work, and hundreds of projects have been funded based on their recommendations and then based on the Economic Development Awards. And without getting too much more into detail, it is designed in conjunction with something called a Consolidated Funding Application, the CFA, so that if you want to go on the Hudson River and do something on the waterfront, you submit one application. You don't have to worry about which agency of the state could fund you, Parks or DEC or something like that. You just submit one application. It gets funneled to the right agencies in conjunction with these REDCs, and then the money starts to flow. But again, for you, in terms of developing curricula and trying to determine what your course offerings should be, it is useful to see after these councils got all this information from a variety of sources together where the economic development is going to be in the next several years. So the message next overall is that private schools account for 66% of the certificates that are awarded in New York right now. There's no question that we need more skilled and trained workers. No one entity, the private colleges, community colleges, public institutions, the vocational institutions, none of these entities working separately can address this need. I think our view of the Department of Labor, particularly now, is that all of them have to work together and be partners in this initiative. And what I would like to report back out of this gathering is that all of you, it was well attended, number one. You're doing a lot of great work, and you listened to my entire presentation without looking at a BlackBerry for what I can tell. So I appreciate your attention, and thank you for lunch. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. But please, if there are any questions, again, at the very least, I'll be able to take that information back and try to get the answers. I may even be able to answer myself. Or recommendations, or complaints, and that's where I'm going to stop. So what I'll finally say again, I'll just repeat it because you're going to love it when you see it. Even if you're not a statistics nerd, but go on labor.ny.gov. Two sites, actually. Go on labor.ny.gov. Go on the regional councils, ny.org. Just take a quick look and see what is there. You'll be amazed at just the volume of material, and you'll find something that can be useful for you. And the final thing, actually, is for anybody who's involved with or is a small business, the Empire State Development website has 25 pages worth of small business grants, loans, initiatives that you might be able to take advantage of as well. I mean, in the last several years, the explosion in information and resources available from the state on the web is just unbelievable. So you should make sure you don't miss that opportunity. All right, thank you again.
Great. Thank you so much, Thom. And Thom will be with us for a while, so in between this session, the next session, if you have any particular concerns or issues or thoughts regarding your own matters relating to the Department of Labor, or experiences like Frank had mentioned before, if there are other things that come to your that have come to your attention over the years, or concerns or gripes or whatever, this is a good time, because in the very least, what Thom will be able to do is take them down, bring them back. And as he said, he may even be able to answer some of those based on his own wealth of experience, which is pretty extensive. I certainly know that. And by the way, Deputy Commissioner Coleman expressed her personal regrets that she wasn't able to be here today. I mean, I did get the call yesterday from her when she explained, what the circumstances were, and the resources that had just come, and that the commissioner had basically told her, "You've got to stay here. We've got to get this out the door." And she was really apologetic and was very sorry she wasn't able to come personally, and says that she certainly looks forward to another opportunity when she can come. But she also said that she was sending Thom over here, who is a wonderful representative and would do a great job in her place, and I think he certainly has. So we thank you very much, Thom. I thank the commissioners for us.